Well, folks, today is the day that we have been waiting for since episode 1. The Chicago White Sox are playing postseason baseball. We've needed 5 seasons to get here. It has been one of the most challenging rebuilds that we've seen on this channel, but we have finally brought the Chicago White Sox back to the playoffs, and today we're going to get through the start of the ALDS. The White Sox will be skipping the Wildcard round entirely after a dominant month of September where we were the best team in Major League Baseball, and we are hotter than anyone going into the postseason with a record of 92-70. One game ahead of the Orioles for the number 2 seed in the American League, winning the Central by 9 games. The division was neck and neck all year, but we ran away with it during the final few weeks. The Rangers are the number 1 seed, while the A's, Twins, and Mariners have the other wild card spots. The Phillies, Cubs, and Dodgers won their respective divisions. LA, the only team with triple-digit wins. The San Francisco Giants, though, right behind them at 99-63. They are the number 1 wild card, joined by the New York Mets and the Milwaukee Brewers, who tied with the Marlins for the final playoff spot. But it will go to the Brewers, a team who we've seen with postseason success in this series, having won the World Series back in year number 2. Our team is on a roll. The offense in the month of September was the best in the league. Cam Smith has been an unbelievable acquisition at the trade deadline. Luis Robert is healthy. He hit like 5 home runs in the final week of the regular season. Kyle Teal had a terrific season, 3rd for the American League batting title, Silver Slugger at the catcher position. Him and Lou Bob each with a WAR above 6. And the 18-year-old first baseman Shane Schmidt does win the AL Rookie of the Year with a hot finish. That's along with the breakout and emergence of a guy like Corey Julks and Colson Montgomery, going from an afterthought to now a guy who's probably going to start a lot of games for us in the playoffs. I'm super confident about this offense going into the postseason. The pitching, not as confident. Taj Bradley has looked like an ace since we got him at the trade deadline. Bryce Miller and Hayden Wesneski have been awesome as well, but our 4 and 5 spots in the rotation have been spotty. Noah Schultz and Drew Thorpe were supposed to be the long-term number 1 and number 2. Neither of them looked like that at all this year, and I don't know how confident I feel with either one of them pitching in the playoffs, especially with our bullpen looking completely depleted compared to earlier in the year. Brock Burke is hurt. Penn Murphy is hurt. Jairo Uriarte is gone. Ezra Valenzuela has not been very good over the last month or so. So the pitching, especially the bullpen, certainly in some limbo right now. Hopefully the extra time off can help us out. So we'll be playing against the winner of the Orioles and Mariners series. We struggled against Baltimore this year, going 1-5, including them sweeping us at their place in the month of August. The Orioles, as I mentioned, went 91-71, only 1 game behind us. A consistent fixture in the playoffs in this series, despite all the changes they've made to their roster. They've been pretty solid through the month of September. Obviously not as well as us, given that they were up by like 6-7 games at one point, and we passed them within the span of a few weeks. Then we get to the Mariners, who have limped into the playoffs at 82-80. We split with them on the road in June, right before one of our series against the Orioles. And then in August, we took 2 of 3. The Mariners had high expectations going into the year and really did not deliver. This is a super talented roster. Brian Wu is one of the best pitchers in baseball. And if these guys get hot, I think they are capable of a run. Well, luckily for the Mariners, they're playing their best ball of the season. And for pretty much the entire year, they were on the outside looking in of a playoff spot. But they were able to get themselves a spot into the postseason, and they win Game 1 in Baltimore 10-0. J-Rod, Locklear, Ford all go deep. Brian Wu, complete game shutout, outdueling Roki Sasaki. On to Game 2 in Baltimore. The Mariners get the sweep. We're playing Seattle. A 3-1 win for the Mariners. Our good friend Brian De La Cruz goes deep along with Pedro Leon. 6 innings of 1-run ball for Spencer Strider. As for Baltimore, 91 wins. They were on pace for a first-round bye since like June. Yet they scored 1 run in the postseason. That just shows how volatile the MLB playoffs can be. It's about getting hot at the right time. Any team can win. The Mariners, who are basically 500, have as good of a shot as anyone of making the World Series if they continue to play well. We've got some big decisions to make in terms of finalizing our postseason roster, And keep in mind, my ratings changes that I do for all 30 teams at the end of the year is at the end of the regular season, which means they do go into effect for the playoffs. And you may notice some changes here in the rotation. Taj Bradley up to an 89. Hayden Wesneski up to an 86. But Noah Schultz is down to an 84, and Drew Thorpe is only an 85. Offensively, some notable changes include Kyle Teal, a 93 overall with 99 contact versus righties. That wasn't even my doing. That was the game that gave him 99 contact versus righties. He's now tied with Lou Bob as the highest rated player on the roster. Corey Julks, I think, is the other notable change. He is now an 85 overall. Quite the story from him being a fringe utility player in Season 1 to getting MVP chance in the last episode and turning into one of the most important players on the roster. And the ratings change system was supposed to help guys like him who play really well. They should be rewarded for that. Corey Julks took some steps last year. The season before, he was awesome in the minor leagues. And this year, obviously, it showed up, and he was one of our best players. So this is the 26 that we're going to be rolling with for the ALDS. In terms of the notable omissions from this roster, Douglas Cato, Chase Mydroff, Prelander Baroa, and Yason Morobel will not be on the playoff roster. Of course, we're going to be without our injured players as well. Most of these guys do not have a chance of coming back in the postseason. Brock Burke is the big one, and of the 5 guys on the 60-day IL, I think he's the most important player here. Getting him back would completely change everything for the bullpen, but the earliest would be the ALCS. There's also a very off chance Cody Hosey could come back. If we make the World Series, then maybe. I wouldn't say it's super likely, and we would have to win 2 playoff series first, but I would not completely rule it out. Anyway, as for the lineups, this is generally what we're going to be rolling with versus righties, and then versus lefties. I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out what I want to do with Kyle Teal because he was very respectable against left-handed pitching this year, and given that he's arguably the team's best player, him and Lou Bob are 1 and 2 in some order, he probably should play every game because we should have our superstars on the field for the biggest games. But also sitting him could also give us a lot of flexibility of when we bring him in. Obviously, we have other good catchers. Edgar Caro is the second best hitting catcher in the AL after Teal. In terms of the rotation, Taj Bradley will get the ball in Game 1. Bryce Miller in Game 2. Hayden Wesneski in Game 3. And then after that, I don't really know. We'll see where the series takes us with Thorpe, Schultz, or maybe going back to the top of the rotation. We might use Thorpe and Schultz possibly as bullpen arms as well. We're going to get creative if we need to, especially later in series if our backs are against the wall. The last thing I'm going to go over before we get started is how I'm going to be formatting things in the playoffs, because as I mentioned at the very beginning of the series, we're going to change things up. I used to play every game, and while I think it's important to play every game because it's the postseason, the series also doesn't go as fast as I want it to because of that. So we're going to play full games for the biggest matchups, but we're going to use the custom game entry for many of the other games. We're going to hop in at multiple different spots of each and every game of the playoffs, but there's going to be a lot of games where we don't play the entire thing. That way we can get through the postseason quicker and it doesn't drag on for far too long. We will play Game 1 in full. This is our first postseason game of the series, so obviously it deserves its own. Welcome to the south side of Chicago. For the first time in 8 years, the Chicago White Sox are playing postseason baseball. After winning the American League Central with 92 wins, the White Sox, the number 2 seed in the AL, are set to host the Seattle Mariners, sneaking in as the 6th seed, barely above 500 at 82-80, but they dominated the Orioles in the wild card round, outscoring them, 13-1? Their pitching was tremendous. The offense was great. This Mariners team is playing some good baseball. Don't let the record fool you. Their roster is more talented than 82 wins, and over the last month, they've really had to dig in order to get that final playoff spot in what otherwise was a largely disappointing season for them. In a lot of ways, we're in the same boat. We had very high expectations going into the year, and for most of the season, we hovered around 500. We've won 23 of our last 28 games, however, dating back to the end of August, largely because of the moves we made at the trade deadline, getting Cam Smith and getting Taj Bradley, who gets the ball here in Game 1, I guess is our de facto ace. He started 11 games for us, and 10 of them ended up being quality starts. The only one that wasn't, he still ended up with 11 strikeouts. It really feels like a party here in Chicago. The first White Sox playoff game in 8 years, and the party's over. Isaiah Kiner Falefa welcomes Chicago to the postseason with a 465-foot moonshot off of Taj Bradley. A leadoff home run for the Mariners, and all of a sudden, this place went from a loud house to quieter than a church in the middle of Mass. That really escalated in about 30 seconds, didn't it? And not only was that a home run by Isaiah Kiner Falefa, that ball was clobbered. I mean, there was no doubt the second it hit his bat, 465 feet, it did not scrape over. It went above the back row in left field. That'll bring up Ryan McMahon now, the 2-2. McMahon gets a hold of this one into right field. Smith at the track, at the wall, it is gone! Back-to-back home runs for the Mariners, and they lead this game 2-0. What in the world is going on? Taj Bradley pitched as well as anybody in Major League Baseball over the last 2 months. Now all of a sudden in the playoffs, the lights are too bright? 2 batters, 2 homers. Julio Rodriguez, that is not a homer, thankfully. What a play at first by Caro. Over to Bradley, barely getting the out. That was closer than it needed to be. Julio Rodriguez, if you didn't know, is quite fast. That'll bring up Tyler Locklear now, the all-star first baseman. Behind 1-2, swing and a miss on the 12-6 curve. Let's see Bradley get the off-speed stuff going. We know his curveball is nasty. Now against Anthony Santander, who had a largely disappointing season. He gets a hold of this one into right! Cam Smith can only watch it fly! 3-0 Mariners here in the first. 427 feet for Tony Taters. Taj Bradley can only watch in disgust. I don't think he allowed more than 3 runs in any of his 11 starts with us all year. He just did in the first inning. What is happening? Edmundo Sosa, the 1-2, swinging out of his shoes, and that'll wrap up the first. Well, that was interesting. Did not quite go the way we expected. Isaiah Kiner Falefa, Ryan McMahon, Anthony Santander, all homer for the Mariners, who lead it 3-0 before the White Sox take their first at-bats of the game. Well, that's a positive way of looking at it. We haven't even hit yet. Who knows? Maybe our offense will go off. It's going to be an uphill battle, though, going off against Bryan Woo, who I believe is the best pitcher in the American League. His numbers this year were a little worse than they've been, but still very good. In Game 1 of the Wildcard series against a strong Orioles lineup, he pitched a complete game shutout. He was pretty damn good. Woo's a free agent at the end of the year, set to make a lot of money this offseason as Corey Julks goes down looking. For a lot of these guys, including Kyle Teal, it's their first postseason game ever. He goes down looking, and the Boo Birds are already out here in the first inning. This place was so excited and optimistic, 3 minutes ago? And now everyone's pissed off. And it's hard to blame them. As Luis Robert sends it high into center. At least we swung the bat there as it's caught by J-Rod. 1-2-3 inning for the White Sox offense. Hopefully Taj Bradley can get things going. We're not close to taking him out yet. He's the ace. I trust him. He's had a phenomenal year. But we cannot have a repeat of the first inning. Hayate Yashihiko strikes out, an international subscriber-made custom prospect. Which, if you want to make an international free agent, join the Discord. The link is in the description. Harry Ford now up for Seattle, the catcher, replacing Cal Raleigh, who's now in Miami. He goes down looking at the fastball. Bradley at 4 strikeouts today. The Mariners have only put the ball to the bat 4 times. Problem is, 3 of those went over the fence as Pedro Leon swings and misses at the 12-6 curve. Taj Bradley strikes out the side. A little bit better of an inning compared to the first for Bradley as it remains 3-0. We'll see if our offense can get something going here in the bottom of the second, as that will bring up Edgar Caro. Count is even, 2-2. Caro swinging a miss on the circle change. Had a great second half of the year after really struggling the first half of the year. His OPS was barely at 600. The power wasn't really there. but he's been arguably the best hitting catcher in baseball since the All-Star break. Cam Smith sends it into the gap. That'll go for extra bases. First hit of the postseason is by Smith, who has minimal playoff experience with the Astros. They've been bad in recent years, but when he was a rookie and a second-year guy, the Astros were obviously quite good. That one gets away from Ford. Smith over to third. He is safe, and the White Sox have a runner 90 feet away from home with only one out. 18 years old, the American League Rookie of the Year, Shane Schmidt with a full count. Draws a walk. Not a bad first postseason at bat for the youngster. So we've got runners on the corners. Given that the Mariners already have 3 and we're facing off against one of the best pitchers in the league, we need to take advantage of this opportunity. Well, that's not going to help. Ketel Marte pops it up. Caught by McMahon for the second out of the inning. And now we're going to need a base hit from Colson Montgomery. If you had told me at the start of the year that Colson Montgomery would be starting in this first playoff game, I'd say you're crazy, but here we are. Goes down looking on the high fastball. Brian Woo's command and his control have been unbelievable tonight. The White Sox have already struck out looking 3 times, all of which on fastballs. Woo threw 2 scoreless, got a little dicey there in the second as it remains 3-0. Top of the third, Ryan McMahon hits it high and deep into left. Jolks at the wall. It's gone! Another home run for the Mariners. McMahon, his second of the game, and it's 4-0 Seattle. Both of Ryan McMahon's home runs barely scraped over the fence. That was 101 less feet than the Isaiah Kiner-Falefa homer in the first. But guess what? They're worth the same amount of runs. All homers are created equal. A 4-0 lead for the Mariners as Tyler Locklear sends it back up the middle for a base knock. And for the first time today, the Mariners have someone on base. Yeah, they have 4 hits, but they're all homers. They haven't had anyone on base until right now. So that'll bring up the number 5 hitter, Anthony Santander, who also homered earlier in the game. Count is full, goes down looking on the cutter. Seattle adds another run with their 4th homer of the game by Ryan McMahon. Taj Bradley was amongst the very best pitchers in home run rate this year, for what it's worth. As Corey Julks sends that one to second. What a catch! Edmundo Sosa for the second out of the inning, robbing Julks of a base hit. Count is even with 2 away for Kyle Teel. That one is sent up the middle for a base knock. That was a really tough pitch to hit. I mean, Brian Woo placed it perfectly out of the zone. Exit velo of only 74. Kyle Teel got a little lucky, but who knows? Maybe it'll start a spark for us as Luis Robert is a full count. That ball is crushed into another stratosphere. 491 for Lou Bob, and the lead is within 2. La Bandera crushes that baseball. The longest tenured player on the team, the only guy with the White Sox who was on the roster in 2021, the last time they played in the playoffs. Everybody else except for Luis Robert is new. Everybody else except for Luis Robert has never played a postseason game with the White Sox until tonight. And it's Lou Bob who strikes first for Chicago. In the StatCast era since 2015, the longest home run in postseason history, 491 feet. Wilson Contreras in 2017 with the Cubs hit that exact mark. Lou Bob ties the postseason record in the StatCast era. Edgar Caro now the 1-1, hits it into left. That ball is caught. Not a bad third inning, though, for the White Sox. Ryan McMahon homers for Seattle. Luis Robert says, what you can do, I can do better. With a 2-run mammoth shot into left center field. The longest home run of the series in the first postseason game of the series. Into the 4th, Edmundo Sosa goes down on the splitter. It seems like when the Mariners are not hitting home runs, they're whiffing. Taj Bradley has struck a lot of guys out so far. The swing and miss stuff has been on point. It's just that when the Mariners do hit it, they hit it well. Hayate Yashihiko strikes out again. Good pitch by Bradley. That's his 8th. Harry Ford now, native of the Great Britain. Count is even, 2-2. The pitch from Bradley, swing and a miss again. 12-6 curve from Taj Bradley. He's at 9 punch-outs. And other than that first inning, it's hard to be too upset with how he's played. He's doing a good job of settling in. The offense has some damage control still to do. That last inning, a promising start as Cam Smith hits it high into center field. That one at the track, at the wall, it's caught. Not quite enough carry At first off the bat, I didn't think he hit it that well, but it just kept going. J-Rod's able to make the play. Smith frustrated that he could not get it over. 2 away for Ketel Marte, the former Mariner. Swinging a miss on the circle change. 4 very solid innings from Bryan Woo. Sure, he allowed the home run, but otherwise, he's pitched a really good game himself. I feel like both pitchers have done better than the 4-2 score would suggest. That'll bring us into the 5th. Pedro Leon up for the Mariners, and he draws a walk. First of the game for Seattle. He does not fall for the 12-6 curve, unlike many of the other Mariners. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa ropes it into left. That goes for a base hit, and Seattle leads the inning off with 2 early runners, and it's decision time. Do we take Taj Bradley out, or do we keep him in? If this was anybody else, I would yank him. But with how good Taj Bradley's been for us, I feel like we've got to trust him. McMahon on the ground. Montgomery, Marte, Caro. Double play! Ryan McMahon unable to homer for a 3rd time. Instead, 6-4-3. J-Rod swings at a pitch he should not have. It goes into right. Smith will make the play. We trusted our star pitcher to get us out of the jam, and it paid off. 5 innings, 4 earned runs for Taj Bradley. I know it's not the best stat line, but other than the first inning, he did pitch quite well. He had to get the butterflies out. The problem is, now is not the time for butterflies. As Colson Montgomery hits it high in the left. Back at the track at the wall is Santander. It is gone! Colson Montgomery brings the lead within 1. Only 140 feet less than the Lubob homer. But hey, again, all homers are created equal. It's 4-3. The White Sox have snapped back here against Seattle. Montgomery, who had some big games down the stretch this year, puts it at 4-3. Edmundo Sosa blocks that ball from getting in the outfield, but it won't matter. It's an infield single for Corey Julks nonetheless. And the White Sox have a runner aboard with 1 away. That'll bring up Kyle Teel, base hit in his last at-bat. Teel becoming one of the best contact hitters in baseball. Certainly should not have swung at that pitch. Circle change in the dirt. If only his plate discipline was a little bit better, I think he really could win batting titles. Luis Robert up the middle, his 2nd hit of the game. Julks around 2nd, heads for 3rd. The throw from J-Rod. In time! Julio Rodriguez, part-time ball player, full-time sniper. Do not test the arm of J-Rod. He is one of the most valuable defensive players in baseball with his range in center field, his elite glove, and his elite arm. That was a really close call. I mean, it wasn't a horrible send, per se. He was centimeters away from being safe. Both starters get through 5. I think both of their nights are done. And statistically, probably a little disappointed by these guys. Bradley allows 4, Woo allows 3. But other than some home runs, both guys really limited base runners. Dre Jameson will pitch the 6th. He only threw 18 innings this year for the White Sox, but was effective in doing so, 2.5 ERA. As Tyler Locklear sends it into no man's land. Julks and Lubob, miscommunication. Luckily, Locklear's not the fastest, so he will hold up at first. But the Mariners start the inning with a leadoff runner. That'll bring up Anthony Santander. Tony Taters, 2-2. That ball is caught! Jumpman, Jumpman, Jumpman! Ketel Marte showing off the bunnies. Unk still got it. Edmundo Sosa draws a walk, and the Mariners have 2 runners aboard now. We're going to make a switch after just 3 pitches taking Dre Jameson out of the game. I don't fully trust him yet. Granted, we have a lot of guys in the bullpen I don't fully trust, and some guys who have even less of a sample size than him. We're going to go to Tony Santillan. He's one of our clutch, high-leverage relievers, if you will. 4.11 ERA, 1.44 whip. I know the numbers do not pop off the page, but he is very good with runners aboard. Hayate Yashihiko gets it up the middle for a hit. Locklear around 3rd, heads to the plate. Lubob's got a great arm, but it's not in time. Yashihiko with an RBI single, and the Mariners lead it 5-3. That'll bring up Harry Ford now, 3-1. Runners on the corners. That one goes into center. That ball's going to drop for a hit. It's 6-3. Runner digs for 3rd. Yashihiko is safe. So the Mariners are able to drive in both runners that Dre Jameson allowed. Ford makes it up to 2nd, actually. So now there's runners in scoring position as Leon lines out to 2nd. Neither runner able to advance. Now they're going to need a base hit from IKF, who sends it well into right. Smith will make the play, and that'll wrap up the inning. Santillan kind of gets out of the jam. I mean, on one hand, the Mariners did leave 2 runners in scoring position, but Santillan also let the original 2 runners score. 6-3 with Shintaro Fujinami out of the bullpen for Seattle. Had a great year as Edgar Quero, his first batter, sends it into left center. At the track, at the wall, it is gone! 411 feet for Edgar Quero, who had 17 home runs over the final 3 months of the regular season, gets his first of the postseason. I think of all of our batters, Quero is the one I'm most fascinated to see how he performs in this postseason, because if you remember last year, the final 2 weeks of the regular season was basically the playoffs for us. We were playing for our lives, and Edgar Quero was awful. He was a liability. He shouldn't have been out there. The lights were too bright. So it's encouraging seeing him hit the home run. Ketel Marte with 2 away, hits that one high and deep in the left. At the track, at the wall, it's gone! Another home run for Marte now, and it's 6-5. Both teams have homered 4 times in this game. That's 8 total home runs through the first 6 innings. You like offense, you like the long ball, this game certainly has been for you. Marte, probably the most experienced postseason player on the roster, led the Diamondbacks to the World Series 6 years ago in 2023. As Colson Montgomery grounds it to second, and Edmundo Sosa makes the play. A busy 6th inning. The Mariners score 2. The White Sox get 2 with homers for Quero and Marte. It's 6-5. Going into the 7th, our offense is certainly waking up, but the pitching is going to have to be better. Hagen Smith out of the bullpen, a starter through his first 3 seasons with Chicago, and a guy who I still see as a starter in the future, but a reliever for this year. Facing off against Ryan McMahon, who homered twice. Swing and a miss on the inside fastball. Little lefty on lefty crime. Smith wins the battle. Tyler Locklear, the 1-1. And this one is lined into right. Smith cannot make the diving catch. And Locklear is aboard with a base hit. And the Mariners get a runner aboard here with 2 away. That'll bring up Anthony Santander, who finds himself ahead in the count 3-1. That one is up and in for ball 4. And we're going to make another switch. I like Hagen Smith, but I trust the veteran Carlos Estevez a little bit more. He very quietly had a great season for us. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I thought last year he kind of started to show some signs of regression with the Royals, but he was awesome this year, 2.74 ERA. Edmundo Sosa swinging a miss on the circle change. Estevez gets out of the inning as it remains 6-5. We'll go into the bottom of the 7th. We'll stretch. And we will see the White Sox offense coming off a 2-run 6th inning. Out of the bullpen now for the Mariners will be Colin Snyder, the righty, looking to keep Seattle ahead here in Game 1 of the ALDS. So we'll start things off with Barney Wagner, the rookie, who's only got a few weeks of big league action under his belt, but with his contact, I wanted him on the postseason roster. Although he swings and misses at the fastball, Barney has not given us much in his postseason debut. Full count now for Corey Julks, the 3-2, and that one is roped into left field. It is a fair ball. That one takes a friendly bounce off the wall into the corner, and Julks will hold at second for a 1-out double. The tying run now aboard for the White Sox. We'll see if they can drive him in and look to potentially tie the game. That'll bring up Kyle Teal, who had a base hit and scored back in the 3rd inning. Behind in the count 1-2. That one's low. That's a really good take. It hits the bottom edge of the zone. Man, that was a good pitch by Colin Snyder. 2-2, another close one. This time it hits the outside corner. Teal lets that one go as well. And now the count is full for our back-to-back all-star catcher. The 3-2. That ball is launched! Kyle Teal puts the White Sox ahead! 410 feet for Kyle Teal. The Silver Slugger, who had a career-high 27 homers in the regular season, puts Chicago ahead. We were down 3-0 in the 1st inning. The fans were booing, but we've really turned it around since. As the White Sox have the lead for the first time today. Guys, you're going to want to look at the scoreboard. 6-7. In all seriousness, though, I wasn't sure we would get to this point. After allowing 3 home runs in the 1st and another in the 3rd, I didn't think we'd be able to come back because Brian Wu is that good. Luckily, we hit a couple homers off of Wu, and since the Mariners' bullpen has come in, it's been batting practice for our offense. 2 runs in the 6th, 2 runs in the 7th. As the Mariners are going to take Snyder out of the game, they'll replace him with the lefty Ken Waldachuk, who threw over 90 innings this year with an ERA in the mid-4s. Luis Robert up the middle, his 3rd hit of the game. A single into center. Not only is Lou Bobby hitting the ball really well, but he's got some really good at-bats. Full count there on his home run. The count was full. I mean, he's been patient and selective with his pitches. Edgar Caro homered in the last inning, hits that ball well into right center. J-Rod at the wall, it is gone! Edgar Caro! Homer in the 6th, homer in the 7th. 6-7. And the White Sox add to the lead. The offensive explosion continues. That is now 6 home runs tonight for the White Sox, who are up by 3. 6-9. Nice. Have yourself a night, Edgar Caro. The base runners will continue. A walk for Cam Smith. That'll bring up Shane Schmidt. The rookie got on with a walk in his first at-bat. As that one is sent into right, and that one goes for a hit. Smith around second, heads for third. He is safe standing up. And the White Sox have runners on the corners. Even with this 3-run lead, clearly we're not satisfied. The Mariners are going to go to their 3rd pitcher of the inning. I don't think Waldachuk even recorded an out. That's 6 consecutive runners who have gotten on for the White Sox as Jorge Alcala comes in out of the bullpen. Alcala had a terrific season with the Mariners, and he's got to get them out of this jam. They are losing momentum and fast. Ketel Marte goes down looking. Much needed out for Alcala and Seattle. 2 away now. That'll bring up Colson Montgomery. Ahead in the count, 3-1, and Montgomery draws a walk. The White Sox load the bases. First time in the playoffs we had the bases loaded. How are we going to mess this up? We're going to take Barney Wagner out, who has not given us much today, 0 for 3, and we're going to bring in Brian Ramos. The 1-2, belted into right for a hit. We're even successful with the bases loaded. That's how good our offense is playing. An RBI pinch hit single for Brian Ramos in his first postseason at bat, as it's now 10-6. Julks' double is what kick-started the rally. Checked his swing. That one gets away. The play at the plate, going to be close. He's safe! Schmidt slides in, and it's 11-6. With there being a force out, they didn't even need to tag Schmidt. They just had to tag the home plate with the ball. But that one got away. The catcher was not able to get to it quick enough. And this game quickly is turning into a disaster for the Mariners. They now trail by 5 runs. They had the lead going into the bottom of the 7th. 1-2 for Teal at the big homer. Swings and misses at the high fastball. Well, that was an eventful inning. The White Sox scored 6 runs. Kyle Teal, 2-run shot. Edgar Caro, 2-run shot. Brian Ramos RBI single, and a wild pitch leading to another run. Into the 8th, up by 5 all of a sudden as Yashihiko strikes out on the fastball by Estevez. Harry Ford now, count is full, checked his swing, did not go around. It's a walk for Seattle. We certainly don't want to get too comfortable. If we can get a 6-run inning, so can they, right? Isaiah Kiner-Falefa now started the game with the homer. Swing and a miss on the fastball. Estevez gets us through the 8th. Remaining 11-6 as the White Sox look to hang on and win game 1. Jaden Hill out of the pen for Seattle. His first postseason appearance through 78 innings. ERA at 4.38. We'll see if the White Sox offense can continue their impressive stretch as Edgar Caro goes down looking after homering in each of the last 2 innings. That'll bring up Cam Smith. He's had a productive day in the office. 3-2. Liner into right. Another hit for Chicago, just continuing to pour it on. We've scored 8 runs since Brian Wu was taken out of the game. Again, his numbers were not the best, but he clearly had a good performance. Another hit. Schmidt into left field. And now there's 2 runners on. That'll bring up Ketel Marte. Behind in the count, 1-2. The pitch from Jaden Hill. That one is grounded over to short. Throw over to first is in time from Kiner-Falefa. Jaden Hill gets out of the 8th. He allows the 2 base runners, but was a lot more successful than the other Seattle relievers, and that'll bring us into the 9th. Well, I was planning to either be down or be close for pretty much the whole game, and then the 7th inning happens. So we're just going to have Jagger Haynes throw the 9th, and if things get fishy, We've got Ezra Valenzuela loosening it up. Ryan McMahon swinging a miss on the slider. There's one. Not a bad start for Jagger Haynes in his first career postseason game. Julio Rodriguez now for the Mariners. That one grounded to second. Marte. Throw to first is in time. Ketel Marte showing off the leather. The Mariners down to their final out here of game one. It's Tyler Locklear, the 1-1. That one is hit well into the gap, and it should go for extra bases. Seattle not yet going away without a fight. Another hit for Locklear, who slides into second base with a double. Could that be the start of the two-out rally for the Mariners? Anthony Santander, 2-2. Swing and a miss on the low changeup, and that'll do it for game one. The White Sox win it 11-6. An extremely exciting first postseason game of the series. It did not look good early. We allowed 3 runs in the first, another in the third. Taj Bradley, who's been rock solid all year, allowing 4 home runs early in the game. But the offense really got going, especially once Brian Wu was taken out and the Mariners had to go to the bullpen. We scored 2 in the third, 1 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, and 6 in the seventh. 6-7. So the White Sox put up double digits in their first playoff game in 8 years. The offense, which was the best in baseball in September, picking up right where they left off with 6 home runs. Although Seattle had 4. They had their fair share of long balls as well. McMahon had 2. Santander had 1. Kiner Falefa had 1. Other than the first inning, though, their offense was not overly consistent, though. Brian Wu, 5 innings, a 3-run ball. Not his best stat line by any stretch, but if you compare what he did to the bullpen, it's clear Brian Wu had a good game. And he was not off. Rather, our offense was fantastic. 16 hits, 3 walks. Teal, Marte, Lubab, Montgomery all going deep. Edgar went deep twice. Taj Bradley, 5 innings, 4 earned. Very similar story. The numbers don't look great, and sure, in that first inning, he looked rough. But he really picked it up after that. The bullpen did a pretty good job as well. I'm excited to try out the custom game features for games 2 and 3. But you guys are going to have to wait to see them for the first time in the next episode. I know I want to get through more playoff games and go quicker, so I'm kind of contradicting myself. But I wanted game 1 to be special. I wanted it to get its own episode. Next time around, we're going to get through at least 2 playoff games. Maybe more, depending on what happens within this series. Hopefully we can get by Seattle within 2. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace out.